The gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Bishop.
This hearing gets more and more interesting. I'm going to sort of return to the subject, Mr. Freedom, that you spoke about. Well, we in the last time I had an opportunity to ask questions about, and you've spoken about it more, the NBA's role, but not just the NBA. And before I ask you a question, Dr. Fu, I'm going to actually go to you. In the moment, or the time since I asked last questions, I had an opportunity, staff brought me the complaint that you described in your testimony about the people who were incited to protest outside your house. And I see that the defendant in that, and I hate even to say this in public, but it's Guo Wingui, is that how you say the name? Miles Kuo, as we see that name.
Yes.
And as I've just done a little research on him, he appears in my social media thread a lot. I mean, not him personally, but people advocating for this person. I don't know anything about him. He said, I looked him up, and I understand he's a Chinese billionaire. He's under indictment. He just pleaded not guilty to a number of accusations in a superseding indictment, but he got out of your lawsuit when he filed a bankruptcy case in the District of Connecticut. Subsequently, that didn't go too well for him, so he sort of put that on ice, and he's alleged to have incited the same sort of harassment that you describe against the United States trustee in the bankruptcy proceeding that he was involved in. So, now, do I understand that you contend that Mr. Miles Guo Wingui is acting on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party? Is that your allegation? I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but is that your allegation?
Yeah, when those people were sent by him from all over the United States to attack and harass me and my family, I was searching really very hard, like, what did I do to him? How much, I mean, I have nothing, no business dealings, no relationship with him prior at all. So there's the only conclusion is he must have a task to destroy our work of human rights and religious freedom.
And you believe he does that on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party?
I'm pretty sure he has a task.
So this gets to be very complicated. Ms. Nia, Ms. Boyjian, you have, I mean, to the point, NBA, one of the things you spoke out about, Mr. Freedom, is that Nike, according to reports, came to the Hill and lobbied to weaken the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act that passed a couple of years ago. Yep. So was Nike acting on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party in trying to weaken that legislation as it was being considered by Congress?
I mean, yes. Look at the numbers. You know, there are really good players in the NBA, and there are many of them signed by Nike. And think about all the jersey sales, TV deals. Think about all the shoe sales and product sales in China. You know? So,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, no, I get it. And I get that their economic interests are linked, and I think it's reprehensible. I mean, I think those corporate America needs to show the courage that the two of you have shown. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate what you've done, but it begs this very interesting question. Ms. Nia, you're familiar with the FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act, right? And the definition of what a foreign agent is, what an agent is in that legislation is quite broad compared to what an agent is considered in state law. Yep. So it can be somebody who's just carrying on the agenda of a foreign hostile power, right?
Yeah, and I'll note that there are some proposals for FARA reform in terms of wanting to have lawyers disclose, who they're representing and things like that. But on the question of corporate liability, it gets quite sticky. In this country, we've had a lot of high court rulings. So the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled over and over again in a way that actually restricts the ability to hold corporations accountable for human rights violations and atrocity crimes, which do comprise a lot of the components of transnational repression that we're discussing here.
Would those conclusions be affected by the legislation that you've made reference to that's pending before Congress or not?
Yes.
Interesting. So that it gets pretty complicated, but at the end of the day, it works out to be probably a question of courage and of integrity. And you see a lot of actors in the picture, a lot of very wealthy people who are pursuing, as Mr. Crane said, money. But they allow, in the name of their making money, grotesque acts by hostile actors across the world. I appreciate the degree, the way in which all of you have devoted your efforts to resisting that, and you're to be congratulated for it. Thank you very much.
Briefly on the point of proxies, very quickly, if I may, I would just flag two things for the committee. We do see an increasing use of sort of bad guys for hire. We also see the government of China, for example, engaging private investigators who did not know that they were involved in the commission of transnational oppression. And we would certainly say that corporations have a role to play. We see this through the use of spyware, where people are indiscriminately selling their products. And Commerce has listed some of these corporations on the entity list, but much more can be done there.
Very interesting. The gentleman's time has expired.